Kind of gives you a really good feel of what this space is going to be like. It's all glass up there. This opening is going to be glass.
Places to bring him in.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. I'm thinking Bill's thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
where are
Where
you
going to bring him in? How are we going
Places to bring him in. This south wall will have a pair of 6-foot doors on it. That's as big as we're going to get.
What I'm trying to find out is if we can bring this thing in as one piece. So, like an opening like this.
The biggest openings we'll have over here are doors that will be about 7'6" by 10. And obviously you're not going to fit through that.
They're not going to fit through there.
The only other thing I've got are, there's a loading dock over there. But the corridors would never be big enough for you to get that through. And again, by the time you're ready to come out with that, the contractor's going to have all those finishes installed and that corridor is going to exist.
A year from now, what they're going to have is pretty much buttoned up. So we're going to have to make it in like 4-foot sections to be able to get in here. And that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And then it needs to be assembled. And then if you've got everything buttoned up, you can't get it in here. I mean, that's a beautiful opening we got right there.
Yeah, but it's going to have steel like that all the way through. The problem I see is that the backup steel is a 10-foot interval, so I don't have anything that big.
Inflatables. Here we go. This is where the garden is, right? Yeah, so it's like it's left from outside in and coming down, and then we've got the bag, the suitcase on the bottom here. Yeah, but look at it, what a space.
We'll leave the steel exposed up above that, so that's where we can tie in structural tabs, etc.
Okay.
That you're going to need to hang.
We're in a unique situation here. This is inside an environment. We don't get the external environment that we have to worry about at all. Cleaning is the only issue that we ever have to worry about, right? Longevity of materials, we've already got that proven. So now it's just a question of what can we do with that technology that we know now to be able to make it in a different way that hasn't been seen too, which is kind of cool. So these guys, we've been coming up with some ideas that we create actually planes of facets. And then if you imagine where they lock right here, they won't touch. So there'll be a bead in here that'll join them. So you'll see a line, which will be kind of interesting because we're talking about the reds, and the red's an important part of the, you know, how to get it into that space. And I think I talked to you about having it flat, right, not shiny, so the light doesn't bounce off everywhere. It actually sucks it right in. And so the only way to do that is actually have to layer the composite material in a way that then the red is the last thing, and then there's the clear beyond it, and then there's the flatness there. If we were to make something really flat, it could look like a faded auto body, right? So there's that fine line between getting that surface texture and the reflectivity that we want, or non-reflectivity. So it's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Very fun.
Well, actually, I think we just got the contract back the other day.
So you're done, right?
So the ball's rolling. It's now the task comes, how do we figure out how to make it? And also, obviously, how do we figure out in this particular time, how do we fit it through the building? It's a 56-foot long object by about 14 by 16 or 18 high, so we've got a situation that I think we need to think about. There are many variables, so if we build it in one piece, there's a very different way of making it, as opposed to building it in 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces, whatever it needs to be made. So there's a considerable amount of work that goes either way. So, you know, there's been some conversation about materials also, because of fire rating and what do we do with those issues, and those are things that we need to probably talk about today. And as far as the suitcase itself, the granite suitcase, we just need to figure out location exactly, and once we do that, we can figure out, you know, how the people can move through it, and then can its size be enlarged for anything, or can it just stay the same, or does it have to be reduced because of the people traffic? Weight issues, we can actually carve out the inside of the suitcase so it's not heavy, not as heavy, so we could reduce it at least by a third of what it was originally estimate it at. So once we get the location, we can figure out where we are, size, then we can work out material, the weight issue, and what we need to do to structurally support it if we need to.
I'll tell you, 40,000
I'm gonna
pounds.
go with the red pen.
We do need to talk about how we need to suspend it, and how do we want to try and minimize, I think, any visuals that it really needs to look like as an object that it is floating or has moved through the space from the outside. And if we could minimize any sort of cabling, that's kind of my objective, rather than making it look like it's a suspended rabbit, because I think part of the conversation initially was we don't want to look like it's a skinned piece of meat out there or something, right? The lighting becomes another issue. How do we do that within the space? And we've talked about materials in how we want it to affect, how we want it to look, and that is have the surface of it be extremely flat, so that the light gets absorbed onto it rather than reflects every other part of the light, and especially during the day it becomes a very visible object because it occupies that space. But because of that, if it's a very reflective surface, it can bounce a lot of light off and I think become very distracting and lose the visual of what it is. So if we can soften that, I think we end up with an object that has an absorption factor that not only is it inviting, but it actually helps with the diffraction of light that exists within what we have going on, especially in the medley of light that falls into play in this space during the day. And at night it's a different issue. John was telling me about some interesting lighting options, so I think that's kind of worthwhile looking at, and if it's free, that's even worthwhile looking at. So I think going out to the space today was really great to be able to get a positioning of it, and it's funny, I mean, I'm sure it's a wonderful moment for the architects to start seeing their creations realized, and see what happens. It is for me, once you get through all the stuff that happens over the many years to get to that point.